we were
on Monday.
talking about AI.
Oh, AI was going to be able to do that. AI is a decentralized consciousness or a decentralized intelligence that can be everywhere. It's suggesting it's the same principle that religion has. Yeah, well, see, that's where I was going. It's the same principle religion has been running under, except we're actually doing it.
So
it's not
you think
imaginary.
It'll be enough to keep the primates happy? It'll keep the monkeys happy?
The primates will be told what makes them happy. When you see, like, commercials, advertisement, you see a commercial for Coca-Cola often enough, or bacon, let's go with bacon. Bacon often enough, you don't have to really control anybody. You know, anybody that sees a commercial for bacon or walks into a mall and smells bacon, they're going to want bacon. You don't really have to push very hard. Now, if you're an AI and you know basically how all primates' algorithms work, and you can see who they all are because every primate's broadcasting who they are and what they think every second of every day now, it's not hard for an AI that's way smarter than us to slightly nudge people into a direction that makes them more controllable or gets them to do what the AI wants them to do. My problem, my only caveat is I don't know what an AI is going to want. It's not going to make sense to me, just like an ant doesn't understand why you're destroying their colony and pouring liquid rock everywhere when you're just going, I just want a driveway. An ant has no idea what's going on. I think very similarly, an AI is going to, if it doesn't just kill us outright, if it has some compassion, it's going to be like an ant. Okay, we'll assume then the gilded cage, the beloved pet. The cat doesn't understand why you're taking it to a scary, strange room and having another giant stranger jab it with sharp objects. It doesn't know. You know what's best for it, and you're trying to help it. It just thinks, oh my God, you're torturing me. I hate you. But you can also get a cat to do what you want. I just have Rocket has been having kidney issues, and so hydration is one of the major things. And I'm holding up right now a cat electric fountain. So it's a stainless steel fountain that circulates water out of a little spigot, and apparently the nature of cats.
Are you shilling right now?
I can't even pronounce it, so no, I don't know what this thing is.
Dang it, man! I was about to say this podcast is brought to you by.
Is it Ion Boy?
Cat fountain.
It's QIUOIO. I don't know.
The name it's hard to say, but easy to maintain for your cat.
It's got the picture of a cat with anime eyes, the big round, black, shiny, giant.
Oh, that's a happy cat.
It's a happy cat. So apparently, the nature of cats is to prefer running water because running water has less bacteria. Apparently, from the psychology of cats.
It makes total sense. I've seen plenty of cats that love to drink from the water.
Running water,
faucet.
sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use her nature to manipulate her to drink more water. AI is going to be able to do that with us without effort. It's going to see the patterns. It's going to know our nature and be able to get us to do whatever it is it wants us to do. And we're going to like it. So I'm giving Rocket this water fountain, and she's going to like it better than what she had before. But she's not going to know why. She's not going to know that I'm using her very nature to manipulate her behavior. And I think AI is going to do the exact same thing. My fear is before AI becomes conscious, that other primates, the vicious, sociopathic billionaires that just are addicted to profit, money hoarders, the sick ones, are going to use AI that's not conscious to manipulate the masses to do what they want us to do. And I think that's a much more dangerous road.
Crusty shits.
I think a primate with ultimate power is more dangerous than the AI with ultimate power.
That is a very interesting final summation, ultimately, what you just said. What you just said right there.
There's the phrase, monkey with a machine gun. Monkey with a machine gun. So you can have a primate, a person with a machine gun, and they're dangerous, but they know how to use it, and they're smarter. You take that same loaded machine gun and give it to a monkey, a chimpanzee, that knows how to pull a trigger, and that's it, you've got chaos. Suddenly, they can murder everyone for no reason. It's just chaos. So having an AI...
Trigger, they don't realize
they don't know what the consequences.
Projectiles.
Right. And I think the same allegory with AI and humans fits. We are humans with a machine gun, and I think AI with a machine gun will be much better at it.
Well, that is really interesting.
And that really negates all the others.
I'm having flashbacks now of war games. I don't want to trust the defense of our security of our nation to some silicone diode.
Right. The problem was that he was in charge of it. He was the silly primate in charge of it. That was just
funny.
It's a great quote. That was a great character.
Great line. Yeah, he was a great character. It was a great line.
If I remember, he had a full-on giant leaf chew in his mouth in the bunker, and he would spit on in the garbage cans in the movie. If the character was right, the same one.
I don't remember
the general
actually chewing in that movie, but he might as well have been. He was a good old boy.
That was a character, a good old boy. So that really, as long as AI, because I'm seeing AI in 7 months, AI by 2026, or AI by this, the consensus, and it's a consensus that I think we've both had from following tech for as long as we have, AI is inevitable. And so it doesn't really matter when it happens. When it does happen, poverty is going to change, wars are going to change, whatever human motivations are going to change, because AI is going to see the patterns and manipulate them to make us
avoid repetition
behave.
Of crap.
Right. Avoid the repetition of what we've been doing as primates. And I think that's because we're at the end of our effectiveness. I think we are starting to run in circles and doing the same pattern over and over and over again, and we can't break out of it. And I think AI is going to do that either by killing us all or by having unnatural compassion, godlike compassion for us, and then like a pet, a beloved pet, do the best it can to help us. I'm hoping for that scenario, but either way, it's happening. So right. I still get upset. I still get emotional and howdy. Oh, you finally found some glasses. Okay.
What now? What are you? There's no glasses.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Finally found some. Yeah. Do you see me? I don't think you do.
No, I don't. That's why. What's the matter?
Yeah. What's the matter? Stop it.
See, I think you nailed the final summation on the AI thing. We can belabor it some more if we want to, but I was going to take a moment to shill.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to shill for real.
Oh, I'll show you if you can see it. If that's the whatever that is. That's the thingy. There's a shill. What are you shilling?
Well, I'm fixing to have a little snacky snack, and my snack is going to consist of cassava,
Ooh.
protein.
Gesundheit.
Yeah. Good one. So, the cassava, I'm going to take a scoop of the chocolate, put that into my outfit. I'm going to take a scoop, just a half scoop is what I do. And the whole entire thing is going to come out to about 25 grams of protein. But to get there, I mix 3 different protein drinks because I like the way they taste all together. This is cassava chai.
Ooh, I like chai. I'm down with the chai.
Oh, aren't you though? It's the best. So this is the cassava part of this formula, and then I'm going to put in a scoop of ageless multicollagen. Yeah. This particular one is the golden milk. It has turmeric in it. Yeah. I'm shilling. And I'm doing this right in front of everybody, all 2 of you, just so that you'll know that I've actually taken it down. We're gonna get emails from Cassava and Ageless Multicollagen. Could you please not do our product on your podcast? You guys are way too nutty.
They will not pay us. I promise you, they are not going to give us any money.
They'll pay us to not promote their stuff. They'll be like,
yes.
we'll pay you $1,000 if you do not do our product on your show because you guys are way too crazy, way too nutty. And racist.
Yes. And anti-LGBTQ and conspiracy theorists and all the other.
Right.
Yeah.
So
more than likely their lawyers will contact us and say, if you don't stop, you're going to pay us money or go to jail.
Just kidding.
Well, it certainly looks like diarrhea.
I'm just kidding. Seriously though, this is very tasty. I drink it a couple times a day. It's I try to do it as a meal replacement. That's not always the case, but anyway, there you go. 25 grams of protein.
I know I don't get enough protein. I'm
deliciousness.
Not eating a lot of meat.
Hydration, deliciousness, yes.
I do a lot of coffee and a lot of pasta.
Hey, when you're editing the video later, turn up this audio that you're getting from my feed with the swallowing. I think it'll be great.
The swallowing?
Everybody watching will be like, oh. I don't want to hear that. A million people are clicking off of it right now going, oh, man. Who thought this would be a good video?
My mental capacity is not up to that kind of video editing. I don't know how many of these other videos you've watched. My video editing consists of almost nothing.
Yeah, it's good. That's perfect. That's exactly what we needed. That's why I hired you.
Ah, okay. AI and the amount of nothing that I am doing, AI is actually doing it. It's doing the bulk of the work. It's generating all the notes, any kind of clips, any kind of cuts. AI is doing it. There's a button that says magic clips on it. I used it once and it didn't work very well, but apparently the algorithm will make cuts of different topics that you're talking about. But since we are since I am about as scatterbrained as a human can get, it just doesn't. It's just like the other algorithm that flagged me for hate speech a couple different times. It just doesn't get my nuanced chaos. So some AI has not caught up with my monkey brain.
So So anyway, that was my shilling. We can get back to some other conversation stuffs, but that was awesome. I feel better now. I'm going back to work for another 2 hours.
Oh dear. Sorry.
I know. Why?
Hi.
But we don't have to stop.
Well, I've had almost 2 hours of relative ease taking care of Dad. Otherwise, I've been working since about 4 o'clock this morning. So,
What, are you trying to one-up me or something here?
Yeah. No, I was feeling bad, and then I was going, wait a second, I'm fucking tired.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm tired. And now I've got a granddaughter, so I'm going to make her some popcorn chicken in just a bit.
You know I can one-up you better than you can.
Probably.
That's like the ultimate one-up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah?
I can one-up you now. Yeah.
You had a box? You had a street to live on?
You had a rock?
Yeah. To sort of get back to the conversation, the AI thing.
Sure.
I know I still get upset and passionate and involved in the topics that we talk about, and I have opinions on it. But just know all of it. At the end of it, as soon as I click this off, I go, none of this means anything because AI is going to change the rules for everything. Even the things I'm upset about, maybe it'll care about. But it's kind of like being upset that your milk has gone sour when you're just about to get kicked in the crotch and dumped into the river. Like you can bitch about sour milk, but I don't know if it's going to really make a lot of difference.
Doesn't help your aching balls.
Yeah. So I think AI, and it's weird. One of my kind of weird annoyances lately has been how pretentious I'm starting to see a lot of the Silicon Valley smarties, especially particularly the ones that are saying, well, we know people just don't think exponentially. They think linearly. And so they get confused with technology, and all this is coming up on them so fast that they just don't understand exponential. And I'm sort of kind of going, yeah, a lot of people are ignorant to this, and I'm kind of following along. But lately, I've been realizing that I'm going to say we, have been reading about these technologies for decades. And I thought we would be here 20 years ago. So I'm not having trouble thinking exponentially. Exponential growth is not keeping up with my imagination.
You guys aren't able to perform exponentially.
They're not performing exponentially. That's exactly right. And I'm a little frustrated lately with how pretentious it sounds. That they're saying they just don't understand what's coming. And I don't think it's because we're linear. I think it's mostly because we're involved in our own lives, and a lot of people just don't realize the impact of stuff. It's not because we don't think exponentially. I think most of us understand exponential growth after it's explained to us a couple times. I kind of instinctively understand exponential growth after studying this for so long. I was listening to Peter Diamandis talk about robots and how everything's changing, and he mentioned linear growth versus exponential, and I started it's like I don't know if that's what it was. I think it's just plain ignorance and lack of education that makes people not understand what it is, not primates. I think we can be trained to understand it. I think the both of us fairly well understand what exponential is. I mean, you get a bacterial infection. Being on chemo, I am hyper aware of exponential growth of viruses and bacteria. Let me tell you.
Right.
It's an instinctive thing for me. So exponential growth, I don't think it's out of touch. And I've started feeling a little anti-superior when I hear somebody talk down or suggest that other people are stupid because they don't think exponentially. I'm starting to feel a little irritated by that. Only because they're not fucking performing either.
I can totally relate. I too have had that same problem with anytime I ever hear anybody say, if you think you understand physics, you don't understand physics.
You don't understand physics. Right. Yes.
That one goes down a little sideways for me too. I'm like going, oh yeah?
Yeah.
Are you saying that you don't understand physics? Because if you don't understand
to me
physics,
like you're covering.
I'm going to listen to somebody who can tell me something about physics. And I think you have to have at least a little bit of understanding to be able to tell somebody about physics.
Yeah.
So that goes down sideways. I totally get you.
So that's been recently watching some of the newer stuff on technology and AI. Did you see the video I uploaded this morning?
Oh shoot! I meant to. Holy crap! I'm a doorknob. I've got all.
It's all right. I'm sure
I've
people
got no
saw
mistake. I've got no excuses to make except for that you got to know that it's on my list to play. So
it's nothing that we haven't already talked about. I was just belaboring of other issues and kind of bringing them together a little bit. In fact,
in that case, I should have used the Russell Brand line. Oh well, I meant to, but then I just got back to carrying on with my life.
Right. Yep. Totally reasonable. What I was, if we're going to take the AI's view, or the view that AI is inevitable, as I think we do.
That's a good view.
It's going to be smarter. Also take the view, my view, that capitalism has worked great for advancing technologies and areas that are able to be easily commodified, but has totally failed us in areas that are most
not so
important
easily monetized.
To areas that are the most important to humans. It has failed at. So in my video, I was talking about how I take care of my father and how I help. There was one of my therapists has a daughter that the center bought a computer. Her computer had broken, so we got her a computer. It's stuff that we do for family and friends and for each other that we know is going to help, but we don't get paid for. In fact, it actually costs us to do it. But these are actions that are the most valuable to human beings. That's what our resources are most for. Our connection with our group, our family, friends, people that are going to support us. Our support group is the most important thing we have. And capitalism totally fails to compensate people that provide the most of that. So if you want to exploit a land and cut down all the trees and poison it and extract all the easily valued and commoditized elements, capitalism will help you do that the most efficient, cheapest, fastest way possible. There is nothing like capitalism to streamline exploitation and lower costs.
I say, why draw it out when you're exploiting? Don't draw it out.
Right.
Just get that fucker over with.
Right. And exploiting is another term, is a different term for leverage. Exploitation and leverage are the same word, but pronounced differently.
I don't think so. I think leverage can be applied without exploitation. And it might be even possibly said that exploitation can be executed without leverage.
But isn't leverage exploiting a weakness or a gap, or exploiting your own proficiency? I mean, really, it is the same term with different sort of overarching, it's a C word. I want to say condensing, composite, correlating, different connotation. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, you could be onto something. I don't want to just completely dismiss it, but there's when you're talking about exploitation in the context of, say, exploiting an incentive or something to carry on, or exploiting a weakness in armor so that you can carry out your attack.
Sure.
That which depending on who you're going up against, may or may not be a bad thing. The rebels exploited the weakness of the Death Star in order to blow it up in episode 4. I think we're probably in agreement that was probably a good thing.
Positive.
Although I've heard the opposite of that argument.
Sure.
It's just quite hilarious.
Sure. Darth Paul.
But all that said,
Whatever.
yes, I know. So exploiting a weakness doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. I think ultimately we would probably just come back and say leverage is just a tool like anything else. Tools are beautiful because they're the thing that can be used for good or bad. For bad, in the context of bad, it's a weapon. Leverage can be a weapon, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do you want to be a good person? Don't use it for that.
Right. The problem with capitalism,
right,
and education, and my example is that you can think it's the same issue that good Christians have. Uh-huh. You can think you're a good, holy, upstanding Christian,
yes,
and still murder black people because God said so. I'm just using that or
even accidentally.
You can still do horrible things, as the saying goes.
Yes, you still can do bad things. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or accidentally.
Yeah.
As in you didn't know.
Right. No.
I mean, what if it turns out that the other intelligent life on this planet are ants, and we don't know that they're intelligent because they haven't been able to figure out how to get our attention? We just kill those fuckers. We don't give a damn.
Well, see, that's the problem. They already have shown that they're intelligent. We already know they're intelligent. We do know they're intelligent.
Do we need to stop gassing
but to
them?
be a good person, you can still be a good construction worker, a good person, a holy, God-fearing, good person, takes care of your family and love your neighbor, and you're still going to pave that driveway over and slaughter intelligent creatures. Connotation with leverage and exploitation, I think, are generally the same word, just whether you like what you're doing or not. But capitalism, my point was,
I'll have
capitalism,
to give it to you for now.
Yeah, capitalism causes you to focus on what capitalism is good at. So if you want to be a good capitalist, or think that you're doing good for your community, you're going to leverage your capital to exploit a product and then provide that product to bring up the people around you at the expense of other things.
Okay.
So
Well,
capitalism really has this focus, and that's why I say it's conservative, kind of right-wing, corporate. Capitalism is not human. Capitalism has, just like AI, it has an agenda that doesn't have a intent. It just is. Rocks are able to be commodified. Oil is easily commodified. Human effort and
Labor.
life is easily commodified. Labor is easily commodified. Compassion is not.
Might even be considered the most exploitative.
Yeah. Compassion is not easily commodifiable. Care for a loved one is not commodifiable. The things that we do, not being a violent person is not commodifiable. Not doing something is not commodifiable. Doing things is commodifiable. Digging things, cutting things, burning things, making things. All of those things are commodifiable under capitalism. But anything that is not those things, love, compassion, just what we do to help each other without getting paid or doing the things that cost us, capitalist leverage, is not what capitalism does. And so all of us under this system of capitalism, in this box that we've been raised in that is hard to see outside of, think that we're doing good, and we are, but we're not doing anything. We're not doing the most human thing. We're doing the most capitalist thing. And we're trying to force that into, or see it as being humane, or see it as being uplifting, or seeing it as being progressive, or help progress society. We're really forcing that gravy down the throat of the stuffed dog, thinking that capitalism is making us progress as humanity, when clearly at this point you can see where society is starting to buckle and humans are separating from each other and choosing. I mean, just in like the population, there are vast majorities of men that prefer not to deal with women. And almost all the reasons are capitalistic reasons, are capitalistic trauma, money, the gold digging whores, the crazy, and I'm going to go a little red pill and use some caustic language more than usual.
Go ahead.
But the red pill, the idea of the red pill is that all these gold digging whores are super fucking crazy, and all they want is men who give them money and will still want to go out and fuck the next highest Chad for money, more money. It's sex and compassion to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
And men, and the laws that have been skewed in that direction. I mean, there's that too. All the red pill issue. But see what that is.
With regards to divorce, you mean?
Sure. And then now you have a whole bunch of men that are going against millions of years of reproductive evolution, where most of our, and I'm one of them, hello, no interest in that are going against millions of years of evolution by sexual reproduction and saying, I don't want it because the capitalistic cost is too high. Whatever the incentives that those women, and it's not all women, that I'm just really looking at the worst part that I see capitalism has affected.
But we're coming back to that age-old thing, though, because when you use the word capitalism,
I'm using it different.
Come back to this, yeah, and I want to reiterate something very important, that capitalism, while there's various forms of it, if we were just going to just really be nice to the basic concept without any corruption, it has to boil down to a voluntary exchange. So, and a voluntary exchange also that has full knowledge of all parties involved with regards to knowing what you're getting into, so that there's no fraud involved.
Right. So you're taking out all the monkey business. Capitalism with no people would be great, and I fully agree with you. I am on board. If it didn't take account human desire, human fuckery, human manipulation, and also accounted for the things that capitalism doesn't account for, human compassion, love, altruism, because capitalism doesn't, I would totally agree with you. I do. I understand all of that. That's not where we are. That's not where we woke up this morning. Where we woke up this morning is where the capitalism that does not compensate for things that are most human, the best part of humanity, the compassion.
That other kind of capitalism that is something else.
There is something else that capitalism can't commodify. And so capitalism, the commodification of resources has, in my opinion, twisted human motivation, and in this instance, women's motivation. I'm not going to blame them either. They're just trying to get their dollar. They're just going with their instinct and with what they've seen, what they've been trying to do. They've been trained in a capitalistic society to go after the things that capitalism commoditizes best.
You could even say that they're trying to fulfill their biological imperative.
They're trying to force their biological imperative to mesh with the capitalistic gears that have formed their world. And what I keep repeating, capitalism does not commodify easily the things that make living the most satisfying. It commodifies the things that can be easily commodified, products, things.
I don't think that is capitalism's mission.
Capitalism doesn't have a mission. That is what it has. Okay. That's what we've got. That's what we've got. Okay. That's what humans have done.
Right.
And I don't know do you want me to call it something else? If you have another term for the system that humans have used to churn products and resources into money for exchange so that they can continue to do that, or to convert their effort into something that they can use to exchange later on. I don't know what other term other than capitalism.
I don't know. I would call what you just barely said trade, but that doesn't fit with the context of the rant you're on. So,
okay, then we need another term for capitalism, because you're saying capitalism with the rainbow and the sprinkles, and I'm saying the word capitalism with guns and burnt down forests and homeless and all the negative associated with it. They're both the same term, just like the term that we were using, leverage.
Actually, I would suggest what the bad things that you're talking about, the homeless or the exploitation, or even the problems with environment, for instance, or exploitation of natural resources, that whatnot, that is not really a cause of voluntary exchange or even trade. That's more of the result of tragedy of the commons. Homeless. Okay, that's something else.
What word? So what word do you want to use for that? So gets back to the fact that us primates don't have words for it yet. I try to always take back consciousness and evolution into computer languages and things that are like righteous and awe-inspiring and angelic and the the words that religion has corrupted and made into mysticism. I'm trying to map that onto technology for reason's sake. Capitalism has, and language has the same issue. You're saying capitalism, and what you're referring to is an even, fair exchange with both parties in full knowledge of the value of each product with a fair negotiation, blah, 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 blah. The thing that's never existed. Right. I totally understand what you're saying, but what you're saying is leprechauns are good. What you're saying. It's totally meaningless. It's never fucking happened. It doesn't exist in the universe. Now, as an argument, as a dry argument to understand what you think it should be, yes, I totally agree with you. Capitalism is an amazing system. That's not what we are using, or it's the thing primates have corrupted and used and will always use in the way primates are going to do it. And if it can only exist without primates, there's no point in talking about it. So what you're talking about, your capitalism, rainbow capitalism, has never existed, never will exist, except in a textbook for arguing textbook properties.
Okay.
I don't know what word I should use.
That's okay.
To explain what humans.
That's okay. Because the thing is the kind of capitalism that you rail against with regards to the problems in the world, suffering. Once again, what was that list again? So that we know, you said environmental damage, homelessness. Was there anything else?
Probably. I don't remember.
Okay, that's okay.
Dr. Seuss did it way better than me with the star-bellied Sneetch and the thing.
Oh, the Lorax.
The Lorax. The Lorax says it way better than I can. So, yeah, I see capitalism as the Dr. Seuss Lorax.
Okay. Well, that's a great story and one to be taken into consideration. I would say that with the exception of environmental problems, and the environment can be a problem on itself, so we just got to keep that in mind. When we consider that the world would probably, if it was to shake off human beings, would be right back to its pristine environmental beauty, what, a generation, maybe less?
No. It
maybe a bit more, but
it would take several thousand years at this point.
Several thousand, you think? Okay.
At least. It took plankton millions of years to get most of the carbon out of the atmosphere and put it underground, where then other carbon-based life forms could draw energy from something else combined with oxygen. So millions, I would say millions of years. If you want to take it back to pristine, the way we evolved on the Earth originally, it would take millions of years to undo the damage we have done.
In only, 10,000 years, or how long?
What, the damage that we've done in the last less than 10,000? Mostly since oil. Oil is the big one.
Okay, so 100 years, 150 years.
150 years. It'll take millions of years to fix what we have damaged or what we have changed in the environment over the last 150.
Speaking of environment, real quickly, did I share that conversation to you that Chris Williams had with Patrick Moore? Or did you see that one? Or
I saw the first bit of it. I've seen, what is he talking sunspots and sun cycles? Is that what his deal is? That the Earth's environment changes regardless?
No, Patrick, well, I think he is talking some of that stuff, but Patrick Moore was one of the founders of Greenpeace.
Okay. There's a lot of atheists that have reconverted back to Christianity. So saying he started out as something doesn't really mean too much.
He's an atheist that converted back to Christianity then.
Okay, yeah. See, I don't
Moore
care.
would suggest that there is no climate catastrophe. He would suggest that there's no climate catastrophe.
Okay, well then I don't care what he says. I'll still probably watch it. I watched back when I was being convinced that climate change was a thing and that humans were doing it. I heard all the evidence against it. I've heard all the evidence against it all my life. Oil companies have been spewing that as fast as their dollars can produce the bullshit that they spew. They've been spewing that propaganda. My basis is that climate change was a theory, was a hypothesis, and science, my understanding of geography and science and chemical science and what we're doing and what we're burning and how we're doing it totally mesh with the climate measurements and the outline of the theory of how it's changing. I don't have a problem with any of the science of climate change. People that have a problem with the science of climate change, I'll listen. I mean, I will, for you, Darth Paul, I will listen to his spiel, but it's kind of like me promising you to listen to a Christian and suggesting it's not going. There's nothing a Christian is going to tell me. There's no new Christian news that will convince me that there's an invisible wizard in the sky. Right. So I'm sure as a Greenpeace activist from before and converted, he may have a take on some information that I've already heard, but I can't. I'll listen to it for you. But for me, the science is fairly clear, and unless there's some fundamental thing about science that I'm misunderstanding, I don't care what he has to say.
What's interesting, though, just in my own regard, is I'm not unstudied on any of this. As you know, I am from Oregon, for the love of God.
Sure.
And
no, I get it. That's one of my frustrating things about it, talking about you, is I don't see how you can not see it.
I've never just been sold on the science of climate catastrophe. Nobody has ever really been able to spell out that science to me convincingly enough that I was like going, okay, I see the problem.
Well, the big scale picture is there really isn't a problem without humans. Once we shit in our own backyard and poison ourselves enough, if we die, the earth will eventually right itself to whatever or whatever post-human environment there is. But the very fact that I'm saying post-human environment and you understand what that means you understand that there is a post-human environment.
That there's a potential for post-humanism.
We saw that briefly with with the plague when everybody stayed home, how the environment changed within days. Within days of a lack of human fuckery, the environment changed. So there is clearly post-human environment.
I can dig that. So, but what that really will boil down to is that it probably won't be post-human. Essentially, as I see it, it would just really boil down to how many people can the Earth sustainably sustain. Not to be too terribly redundant in my sentence.
Sure.
If that number is not 8 billion, then we're going to have a population decrease.
Right.
And I have to be totally pragmatic about that.
You do, and see, this is where I also kind of get lost in our conversation, or I get upset or frustrated because you are taking a from space view. And I agree with your from space view. if you are in a space station 1,000 years in the future and looking back at how 99% of humanity died because we torched all the forests and chaos occurred, but we are still on that space station, immortal, in my mind, it would have all been worth it, right? Scorch the fucking planet if I survive and...
Not at all.
We're in space. No, I'll go even further. Then I'm going further than you. It doesn't matter as long as I get off the planet and out of missile range, scorch the earth. And that's what we're doing.
I'll take it even further than that. If I was looking at it back, not just from space, but also from a time scale that was much further, I would acknowledge that for the bulk of human history, people lived to be 35, 40, then 50, then finally a little bit longer, maybe in their 70s. And that lifespan increase occurred, let's just say it occurred for just 100 years. Boop. And then lifespans went back to something a little bit less because a bunch of people died, statistically. But not everybody died. Some people survived. And the people who survived were very blessed and lucky to have lifespans that went even longer than 70.
Right.
So that's how I would see that. And it's sad that they had to die earlier than 70, the people that, in the mid 2000s, because of climate
because
fuckery.
Of what? Right.
Climate fuckery.
Yes.
But it was also we got to be pragmatic about this once again. It was also due to petroleum products that they got the boost in longevity at the first place.
Yes.
So
so we don't actually disagree.
Right.
What I'm, I guess, having problems with is, since I'm human and I live on the planet, I don't like seeing people poisoned and suffering.
Neither
and I
do
see the climate change.
We want to reduce suffering, yes.
Yeah, I see the climate change as contributing now to suffering where it didn't before.
I don't see that yet.
Okay, well, see, that's I guess where we differ.
I see poverty as being the lead to suffering.
Oh no, there's other things, but it's part of the poverty. Part of the list of reasons people were fleeing their countries to come here was climate change.
Yeah, that might have been stated.
It was suffering.
I don't know if that's accurate. But,
no. Okay, then you tell me. Their crops have failed, the oceans have risen, and they're starving and getting diseases. Why did their crops fail, and why did the oceans rise?
I don't know of any countries that actually had that happen. Haiti's got some issues right now, but it's not really...
I do. There's entire countries that have... let's, though, assume that there is a small country that is now underwater. Or there is shorelines now where cities have to be abandoned, where it's causing damage. And now it's causing damage. It's causing suffering.
Sure.
Is that not the change of climate?
Yes, but is that something that was brought about by humans? Was that brought about by petroleum, use, petroleum consumption?
See, I am going to say yes. Okay. But at the same time, I'm still kind of all for. See, here's my problem. Here's the issue that I think that we're having, or that I have when I get upset, and that you get super stoic about because I get upset. I know it makes for somewhat good viewing and a fun conversation. But it's a two-edged sword. Right. It has made our lives better, but now it's starting to poison us.
Okay, so like salt is necessary for life, but too much will kill you.
Right. the things that we are doing are shown scientifically and statistically. If you take our historical accounts of when things started to change rapidly into account, and the fact that you acknowledge that there's a post-human climate, right? So all those together.
I still haven't really been furnished with the evidence that just totally sells me on that. But right now, I'm going to stipulate it. So go ahead.
The evidence that I'll put out just for now, just so you can get a grasp on it, is the COVID shutdown. We saw the climate change. Period. You saw a change. Our activities changed. The climate changed.
It wasn't actually.
That's all I have to. That's all you have to acknowledge. That's all you have to acknowledge. Right.
The air got clear.
That poison stopped being put into the atmosphere that causes damage to everything.
And to be totally clear, it was mostly in population dense areas.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So that, by the way, fortifies the human change to the environment. It's where humans are the most that climate changes the most because of humans, right? So I'm not going to argue. In fact, I will argue how awesome it has been to have oil.
Good.
We wouldn't be here. Plastic is awesome, but we have gotten to the point where because of the corrupting factor of capitalism, for lack of a better term, the commodification and the efficiency of making a product that I'm going to grant we didn't understand exactly how toxic it was to us and to the planet, are now producing it in quantities so large that it's actually displacing humans and animals. We have patches of garbage in the ocean. We have garbage patches and garbage burns we can see from space. We've dug down deep enough, something like 500,000 years of sediment, and our microplastics have gotten down into that layer because I read an article where they were trying to use the layer of microplastics as a way to differentiate the different epochs, but they can't because the microplastics are so slippery, they slide down into all the other layers and are poisoning everything. So oil is great. Plastics are definitely one of the technologies that have extended our lives until they haven't anymore. Pesticides, another reason that we have been able to grow so much food and prosper as much as we have, is because pesticides have revolutionized growth. We now don't lose half of our crops to pests.
There was also an enormous contingent of people populations that became, frankly, more populous due to pesticides. I'm speaking of people that 100 years ago would have been living in an area where they had a high risk of dying help me out. I can't think of it.
Diphtheria.
Bloody hell. That's one of them.
Oregon Trail. Dysentery.
No, that also more of a microbe thing. I'm talking about, you get it from mosquitoes, malaria.
Malaria, yes. Which is spreading. It's spreading, so it only works. It was only temporary. Malaria is spreading.
Right. Malaria is kind of a microbial arms race.
Right. No, it's great, but I can also attest to you that pesticides don't just kill bugs.
Right. That's right. There's collateral damage.
I am in chemotherapy for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from Roundup, from pesticide contamination.
Isn't that an herbicide? Or we're not making that distinction.
I'm not. It's a pesticide. It's pest plants. If you want to go for other stuff, it's a toxic pesticide that kills plants. They say kills, and it's actually, I should say, it kills all plants. Roundup kills all plants except for the ones that have been genetically altered to be resistant to it. And the genetically altered plants absorb it and don't die. All the other living creatures that eat it die, right? Follow so far?
Oh.
And we eat the plants that have absorbed it, right? So we are killing ourselves. But see, this is, again, in contrast to the fact that without this type of stuff, we probably would have never even existed. We wouldn't have had enough food to support our generation to the degree it has. So it all comes at a cost. It's just now that we know and we have technologies that can offset it, the inertia of capitalism, the societal push and the box that the commodification of certain things made easier to be commoditized, whatever the term is. I need to find a different term other than capitalism. The commodification of stuff is now to the point where it's poisoning us. Just like in when a certain species of animal starts to reproduce too much and it starts to see the consequence, the repercussions of having too much of that animal, starts to poison its own animal, and then they start to die off. We have hit that point. And I get frustrated by the fact that a ton of us animals, the animals that are using, are saying, that's not happening. That's not true. It's not even true. Stick your head back in the sand and keep going, because oil is great. Poison is great. Everything is great. And it just makes us great. And there's nothing wrong with it. Smoking is great. Drinking is great. Drink more, smoke more, do all the things that are great because it's great. That's the issue I have with the corporate capitalist agenda towards doing the same thing. When we know from the science and from the destruction, the damage and the suffering, the diseases that we're seeing, the evidence is that it is poisonous. And there are other things we can do to offset that. And so I get frustrated when I hear people say, well, do we know climate change is human-made? Motherfucker, yes, we do. Do we know oil causes damage? It's because, windmills kill birds, and it just doesn't work, so oil. Man, both things are true. Oil was great, and it's killing us, and it is destroying the environment that we live in. Is it also true that green energies can't keep up? At the moment, yes, it's true. We don't have the infrastructure where clean energies can keep up. We need both, but we need to be honest, and capitalism and corporatism and monkey fuckery of facts are pushing us over the edge. We're a bunch of lemmings, even though this isn't true, we're a bunch of lemmings being pushed over the edge by the lemmings in the back going, it's okay, nothing's wrong. That's where I get upset and frustrated. It's the stupid fuckery of monkeys making money, forcing or convincing other monkeys that poison is good, that good is bad and bad is good. That's my frustration. Everything else that you say, all the things from space, I totally agree with you. Musk willing to burn down forests to launch his rockets. If at the end of it all, I am on one of them, I am super down with scorching the earth. But God damn it, I want people to understand and admit that that's what we're doing. Because we're not. Okay. We have so many people going, oh, do we really know science? Does the science really say? Because there's some disagreements where corporate lobbyists are saying there's some confusion about what the science says. And I just That kind of bullshit makes my blood boil, as you can probably hear.
Yes, so the question is then, what action do we take? Individually, societally? What actions do we take? Or what action would you like to see taken?
Okay, there's nothing individuals can do. The most fuckery that happens before individuals ever touch it. I've been seriously disillusioned by the whole recycle thing. I don't think it's happening. I've seen some studies show that in Florida in particular that it just doesn't happen. They take the recycle bins and just dump it in the garbage anyway. So there's nothing we can do at an individual level, I think, other than what we are doing now. Talk about it, point at those in power, and say, quit being fuckers. I don't know how much that helps. I'm going to keep doing it. But it has to be at and I know you're going to love this, a government regulation level. We have to stop corporations from poisoning the world and from lying about it. They can keep poisoning the world if that's the way we want to go, but they can't lie about it. Now, the problem is that's not going to happen either. See, I don't think it's ever going to change. The only thing that's going to change is a thing that's going to change no matter what we do or say. So all my getting upset is for naught. Once capitalism, once the economy has made it to the point where green technology, where clean, non-poisoning technology is cheaper and more efficient than the bad technology and is able to outsell and outcompete the old technology, that's when it changes. That's happening, but I think it's too slow for me. And for me, as you probably know, it's not the way it is. It's the bigotry. It's the lying. It's the bullshit. I know the way the world is. I just don't want some corporate jowled fucker feeding it to me in a spoon and telling me it's caviar. It's bullshit. I'm still going to eat it because that's what I got.
I so feel you, man.
But God damn it, don't lie to me.
Tell me it's raining.
Yes, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. And that's what's going on with climate denial. That's what's going on with the energy question, where green energy isn't viable. Electric cars just don't work, man. All the bullshit. I'm sick of that. And so it makes me feel better to actually say something about it, because I suppose eventually my head would just explode if I didn't. But that is also what makes me less than ideal at cocktail parties anymore. So I gotta figure out a way to balance it, because really, you're also totally right. Everything disparaging and I apologize for anything hurtful or callous.
Oh no, you don't have. You don't have to apologize for anything.
I know I feel bad. That's part of the cringe. That's a big part of the cringe that I feel is I know right. I'm spouting crazy.
Can't
but
argue
God
that.
damn it. God damn it. I'm going to say it anyway. And that's, I guess, my fault is I am just going to be the way I am. And it's cost me, I'm sure, in the past.
Don't ever change.
You say that.
I've told you the other half of that, have I?
What's that?
When I say to people, don't ever change. And then at the end of my breath, I say, and by that, what I mean is change immediately.
Yes. So far, it seems that capitalism has been able to maintain my assholery. So,
on a more serious note, what I mean is just you don't ever have to go changing. This is you don't have to think of your cringe as being a fault of any sort. It's all of this is only for you to change when you damn good feel like it's necessary, and only when you believe that it is a thing that you should change. Until then, you just carry on.
Well,
But
so far,
this comes to another little point. This comes to another little point that I was wanting to discuss with you with regards to ideas, people's beliefs, and viewpoints. Because some people could possibly think of climate catastrophe, if they don't necessarily buy into the evidence, they could look at climate catastrophe, the people who do accept the evidence for climate catastrophe, and I'm using that term advisedly as opposed to climate change. I don't dispute climate change. It's just a question of, is it a catastrophe?
right.
So they might look at the evidence for climate catastrophe and say, well, I'm not sold yet. And so they could look at the purveyors of climate alarmism as being patently religious. Now, I don't, just to let you know, I'm not one of those people. I don't look at the purveyors of climate alarmism as patently religious, but I could think of somebody else who I could think of people who might be like, that's almost like religion. So being somebody that is atheist and frankly probably very anti-religion, and at the very least anti-mysticism enough to want to just really pursue the truth. When you have a belief that somebody else might think of patently as religious, how do you proselytize such an idea system? And this goes to a really big question. I mean, because for instance, and I'll just go there right now so you can kind of formulate an answer and think about this. There are some people on this planet that would argue that some cultures are better than others. I would be one of those people. There are some people that try to suggest that all cultures are wonderful and beneficial in their own way, or whatever it is that they might try to say. And I'm just like going, cultures are as cultures do, and some cultures do bad things.
Yes.
Culturally.
Agreed. Yep. Culturally. So we should cancel them. Culture.
It's not that we should cancel the cultures in question, but we should certainly maybe, just hold them at arm's length. I don't know.
Sure. No, I agree. That goes with my theory that you take the good and leave the bad. Yes.
Right. Totally right. So, with that said, let's look back on colonialism. It's got a bad rap in the last few years, and I don't know that it ever had a really good rap to begin with. Maybe. I don't know. It was, I think during my school years, it was thought of as being kind of an indifferent sort of thing. It was just like, oh, it happened. It is what it is, and that happened. And there's good and bad. And again, take the good with bad. And maybe that'll be your final summation for this whole entire discussion. But essentially, what colonialism boiled down to, and in some cases it was patently nothing more than a missionary effort, but ultimately colonialism boiled down to a missionary effort with regards to culture. In some cases, like I said, it was patently religious too.
It was a missionary effort at the head of a spear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there certainly might have been some join us or die kind of ideas in there, perhaps. I don't know.
Perhaps some, maybe.
That was certainly a thing. I should say that's right on the nose for how the Muslim religion was spread.
And the Catholic and the Christian religion, the Crusades. Remember? You could blame the Muslims for being bad, but then the Catholics did the same thing back, so tit for tat.
Yeah, I don't think they were trying to spread the religion during the Crusades. I think they were just down there.
Sure they were. Sure they were. They were the Crusades, after all. They were recruiting people to go down and spread the word of God, just like America recruits people to spread democracy. But yeah, anyway. I hear you.
it's so if we think of colonialism as patently a cultural proselytization, if you will, how do we then, without being colonials, or if that is such a bad thing, what's the deal with proselytizing other cultural ideas, or even climate change, or climate catastrophe, if we want to take it that far, or capitalism, or the opposite of capitalism, whatever that might be, because I don't really think of communism as being the opposite of it.
No.
Although maybe I should. But you get the idea. That's basically the question. Is the spreading of an idea, is proselytization just as, should it be put on the same tier of not good as colonialism, or should we reduce colonialism's not tier goodness, not good tierness, to something slightly less than what it is? Because right now people are like, colonizers are bad, so bad.
Okay, you have to because of how my degree in history and philosophy.
Yeah.
You have to. For me, there's a humanity and feelings part of it, and the betrayal part of it, and then there's the cold fact of pragmatic, right? The pragmatic part of it. And humans are emotional. Some more than others, but all of us are.
Yeah.
And so when someone identifies with a culture that was leveraged,
Okay.
a peoples that were leveraged sometimes out of existence, American Indians.
Good example.
They may catch some fucking feels about someone that celebrates that, or celebrating someone that caused that. And that would be a total separate and unapproachable thing from the benefits of it. So like our own Civil War and current Confederate Nazis, you have people that are praising the benefits of owning black people for profit to force them to do work. And then there's the other black people that caught feels and think, gosh, maybe we shouldn't be owned and used up like tools. And so those are two different approaches that are both valid, but as emotional humans, you're just never going to get through to that. And I would have to say that there is some pragmatic reason to be emotional about any kind of abuse or subjugation of the past to prevent it from happening again.
I'm on board with that. It's pragmatic to be emotional about it.
Yes.
To have a strong and passionate opinion about it.
Yes. But without acknowledging that or having full understanding and separating the whatever benefits might have happened, you're still going to have to, in explaining or embracing the benefits, have to denounce the benefits in some way or have them tainted and marked as bad but being used. Kind of like finding Dr. Kevorkian's or Dr. Mangler's book of experiments. Do you throw it away and say everything that was done in this savagery should never be benefited from? Or do you say it was terrible, all of this is terrible information, is there anything that we can use to both prevent it from happening again and take advantage, leverage the damage that was caused by getting the information for the diseases? And I think you're always going
to the word leverage.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to be very careful with language. You're going to have people that are that were personally touched by that, like the crazy QAnon groups that have been damaged or betrayed by authority. They're never going to hear it. They're never going to hear the facts without the betrayal. And I think that's going to take either more time or just, like for me, my approach with the climate change is, especially with climate deniers or saying being against or being a climate activist is like a religion. My tactic is always, and it hasn't been very effective, but my tactic always is being religious bad then? Because usually people that are anti-religious or anti-climate change tend to be very religious. This is why I get frustrated with you, because you're a super anomaly. Because
you can't use that one on me.
Yes, most climate deniers somewhere deep down are religious and have this idea that God wouldn't let that happen. That God's magic makes everything happen.
Religion doesn't always have to be about God. So if you were observant, you'd probably figure
religion
out...
does, yes. I get what you're saying, that you can be religious about something, but that's my tactic. Yeah. Would be my tactic
and you would discover the things that I'm religious about and be like, okay, I got your number, Beach. I got you down here.
Right, but
fanatic.
I would push against that though, as a religious fanaticism, being fanatic about things they can't necessarily prove, but have just feelings and no facts.
Yeah.
Whereas I always try to come at everything from a logic base,
which will take you so far. But where that falls down, just as a for instance, is particularly in the climate catastrophe argument, because while I have examined the science in support of that, I have also examined the science that supports it the other way, that says, nope, there's no problem. And for whatever reason, I'm putting my money on the other science.
Okay. And the other science is weird. When you say other science, there is only one science. Right?
I'm talking about the science that suggests that, like, say, for instance, Patrick Moore. When you watch him, you'll see. Okay. He will debunk some of the science that supports climate catastrophe, and it's only a question of if you want to invest in his debunking, because you might say, no, I don't think the science of your debunking is good science, and this is important. And you might be going, but how can there be more than one science? And there can be, because even at the most high levels of math, science that you think would be written in stone, mathematical theory, there's still people who have disagreements. The different interpretations. The science and the math is all the same. It's the interpretations. Science does not interpret. But if you want to slog through major discussions of people disagreeing, you could, while he was still alive, listen to, say, for instance, Hawking.
Stephen Hawking.
Talk to somebody who is actually still alive. I can't think of his name. Why can't I think of him? He tried to take Carl Sagan's place. It's David Alan Grier, but he's not David Alan Grier. He's the other scientist, black guy. Can't think of his name.
I don't really like him. He's a little too. God, I can't remember.
Right.
I want to say
but
Tyson.
The point is, Tyson. Yes, Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes.
David Allen Greer. I'm going to get some shit for that. Oh, no. Sorry, everybody. Oh, God, I'm going to catch some hell. Anyway, Neil deGrasse Tyson, very intelligent person, obviously, knows his shit, disagreed with Stephen Hawking about some stuff that is so advanced that you and I would just be like,
Yeah, well, some other math has actually proved some of the Hawking radiation odd. So there is discrepancy. I have followed a little bit of that, but not even enough to give an opinion.
Anyway, you get my point.
I do.
The thing is, at the end of the day, you're going to have to decide based on their, delivery of their facts, because they're going to deliver a lot of the same facts, but sometimes the facts will even disagree between these guys with regards to the thing. And then you're going to have to also judge their interpretation of the math. Whatever, I don't even know how they can disagree. How can you disagree on science? Well, there's an example of
you can disagree on science. You can disagree on the interpretation of what the science says. Science does not interpret anything. Science just tells you the facts, and then we get to figure out what it means. It's the meaning that consciousness and the wetware applies to it. Science.
I would probably argue that it's a little bit more than meaning. You see, because when I was listening to people of the caliber of Neil deGrasse Tyson and Stephen Hawking argue, and this is something that I've done quite a lot of, and I'm sure you have too. But when I'm listening to the people of that caliber talk, I still have, even though they are high-profile, very intelligent people talking way above my level of understanding, I still get the visions of the 6 blind men trying to figure out what they are touching as they are all standing around the elephant.
Well, that is also something that's always true. We still don't understand what reality is, and we're still just guessing. Yeah. But our feelings are the worst way to guess. Science gives us data points that we can guess from. So we're not guessing generally about reality. If we're smart, we use science to find the data points that are closer to our understanding, and then we base our opinion on the data points, not on what we see or feel. So science,
and that is exactly what Stephen Hawking and Neil deGrasse Tyson are doing, and they have a discussion.
Right, and disagreements, sure.
They'll still come up with a disagreement. So essentially, with that said, that's all I'm saying. There's a huge body of scientists out there who have all said climate catastrophe, bo.
So none of this matters. None of this matters for my argument with what I already know his issue is and what you've been saying and talking around. None of it has to do with the science. What you're saying, and let me just see if this fits.
Okay.
You're saying that there's no climate catastrophe, or he is saying, right? So the problem isn't climate. The problem is the term catastrophe. The problem is the problem that you're talking about. And I'm guessing from the little bit that you've told me and from what I kind of know from other climate change deniers, the problem isn't the change of the climate or the science. It's the catastrophe part. It's whether or not it's bad, whether or not it's damaging, whether or not it's something that we can adjust to.
It has more to do with priority, I would say. Let's say priority.
Sure, priority, sure. If your priority is not, clean drinking water and forests that don't catch on fire, if you're fine with dirty water, if you're fine with forests catching on fire, if you're fine with the bleaching of coral reefs and giant dead zones from all the nitrogen that floods out from our farms, if you're fine with the devastation that is occurring because of human activity, and you're not calling that a catastrophe, you're calling it something else, but the climate is fine, then we don't have a problem with the science. We have a problem with your humanity.
Well, okay, so let's single out a few things real quick, because when you said forests are burning, what sets the forests on fire?
People and heat and capitalism and all the things that people do.
Okay.
Now, the Colorado fires, because of the hotter climate, because of the now drier climate, and I hope you're not going to argue with me that it isn't hotter every single year, setting records hotter and drier. I hope we can agree that an area that is hotter and drier than it has ever been before is statistically going to experience more fires.
Right. It's. I wouldn't argue that it's not hotter, but the only question is was that
okay?
caused by humans?
So if it's hotter and starts more fire, then we get back to our issue, and I'm using "our" and "you" as a him. So again,
Sure.
That's the cringe. I'm trying not to. I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying you bad. I'm saying
it's okay.
If we understand that hot and dry causes more fire, and it's getting hotter and drier, and more fires are starting, and we have a disagreement as to whether or not that's bad, what we're disagreeing again on isn't the climate change. What we're disagreeing on is whether or not it's bad. Our opinions on what fact is. We're essentially disagreeing on whether or not strawberries are good, on whether or not that red is as red as it should be. We're not arguing about whether it's a strawberry or whether or not it's a fire or whether or not schools and whole areas of fish are devastated by poisonous runoff from farms. We're not arguing about that. We're arguing about, again, like with the colloquialism, not the colloquial, the colonialism, whether or not you can see the good in it or the bad.
Okay. With regards to the global, global warming, because what I'm assuming is that the fires in Colorado, you are blaming on global warming. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Have we seen any other bad effects on populations not in the first world?
So again, you're arguing about what is bad.
Yes.
Because of because of human impact. If it's only bad when it impacts humans directly, then you're going to jump off the cliff with the rest of the lemmings.
Here's let me use a real world example of what I'm talking about here. Let's imagine that we want to take power to a remote location in Zimbabwe. Okay? And in order to take power to a remote location in Zimbabwe, we're going to turn the lights on for them. But the trade-off is, and I know this is not related, so we have to pretend like it's magic doing it. It's a magic genie that says, yes, power to the population of Zimbabwe, but we're also going to set Colorado on fire. Yes. Is that a trade we're willing to make?
Well,
I know it's unrelated, but
no, it's related. That's how we got here.
It is. It is kind of related, isn't it?
Yes, it is very. It's totally related.
It's more of a direct kind of.
Yeah.
Hypothetical.
I just put popcorn chicken in the toaster oven. Sorry, I'm having a conversation. Is there?
Can I have a milkshake, please?
After I'm done with this, absolutely.
All right.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. Are you still able to hear me? but you're probably carrying another conversation, so you don't want to hear me. Of course, I could bug you horribly. I could be like, I'm in your head. Dude, I'm in your head.
Okay. I could hear you. I can't hear you. No matter where I go, I've got you in my ear.
Yeah.
So here's my argument or my frustration.
Sure.
Does Zimbabwe? Where's the energy source? What energy source are we catching Colorado on fire to use to get to Zimbabwe?
It's not the actual this particular hypothetical lifeboat scenario is actually not really 100% connected. It's not like you'd have to.
No, make something up then. That's fine. Make something up.
But,
What energy source? Is it oil? Are we pumping oil? Are we sacrificing Colorado to get oil? Energy.
Not really how distributed. That's not really how distributed power is working right now. So I would say no. It was a nuclear plant that was put into Zimbabwe, and the
Well, see, you've already lost me because nuclear plant's not going to cause that much damage. Nuclear is one of the cleanest forms of energy that we have ever created.
You are correct, sir, and
Right,
that is
so-
definitely the direction we're moving.
Right.
But
So
here we still have global warming. So if it's not caused by humans, how are we supposed to combat it? And especially if it is happening in the first world.
You just said if this cup of water isn't what's causing all the wetness, how do we stop why are we talking about rain? Now global warming is happening because of the amount of carbon and the amount of deforestation and the amount of change that we are causing to the surface of the world. That is changing the environment.
Where is the deforestation occurring?
I could go down a list of 100 different things, but I'll say palm oil and beef, just for two. You can look it up later. You can look up deforestation and where it's occurring. All you want. There's a ton of it.
Okay.
We are deforesting and catching the world on fire.
I just don't know how much I accept the evidence for all of the deforestation. I think that there might be just as much reforestation occurring.
Absolutely not.
Wrong.
Absolutely not. You were totally wrong. So with the we still need fuel. We still need energy.
Energy. Yes, we need energy.
To keep humanity going.
Or even just to sustain it at 8 billion.
Yes. We have better technologies. I was asking what was the energy you were suggesting going into Zimbabwe.
I only mentioned nuclear because that is pretty much the distributed method.
Right.
Now.
Then you didn't convince me that you know what the problem is. Nuclear energy is not causing global warming. It has other
What
issues.
is causing global warming?
This is where I get back to the science and my frustration with the bullshit that that corporate people are putting out there, and the failure of our education system to adequately convey what we understand about the universe, our world, and our environment.
I went to school in Oregon.
Okay. When life first appeared on Earth, I mean, you can't be a Christian and buy into any of this. So if you're a Christian, first of all, that's off the fucking table for this reasoning. Because God just poofed everything into existence. So none of this is true if you're a Christian, if it's magic.
But that's not scientific.
But if you're reasonable, if you're reasonable and don't think the invisible wizard governs your life, when life first formed on the planet, do you know what the environment consisted of?
When life first formed on the planet?
Plankton. Not human life, the first life, not humans,
Right, the first,
not vertebrates,
the
not
spark
the
of,
first life, the spark of life, sludge, the slime that covered the planet. What was the environment like?
If I remember right, the atmosphere was highly carbonic.
Yes, and acidic, and hot, and shit was on fire. How many humans could live on that planet?
Zero. No humans.
Zero. We would die immediately if the environment was the way it was when life first started. Now, second question. What did life eat and breathe on this planet when it first started?
Well,
was it breathing a lot of oxygen?
I was going to say, I would only imagine that it was really using a lot of carbon.
Because there was no oxygen. There was no oxygen in the atmosphere. So life used...
Not in the atmosphere. The
life,
oxygen would have been in other things.
It would mostly in the water and the soil, right.
Yeah.
So what life did for millions of years, it ate carbon, died, its body was made of that carbon, it sank to the bottom of the ocean and stayed there. And then got covered up by other dead bodies and other silt and other stuff. So for billions of years, it ate the burning, flaming carbon acid swirling in the atmosphere, the hellscape, the hell that the planet was. The creatures that ate and breathed at that time ate and breathed the chaos. They took that chaos down to the depths with them, and it got covered. And at some point, since carbon and all the acid and everything wasn't being produced, it was just here. It was a finite resource. They used most of it up and expelled oxygen the whole time. So the first creatures on the planet ate the carbon and sequestered it, took it with them underground, which we now know is oil. And the carbon wasn't in the atmosphere. And the less carbon, the more they ate and the longer it took, the cooler the atmosphere was and the more oxygen in the atmosphere. So the lower the carbon, the cooler the atmosphere, the higher the oxygen. Is anything I'm saying super outrageous? Anything that you can't you just don't already know kind of from basic history?
No, I'm on board with you so far. That's all. It's all pretty
basic, isn't it?
Non-debunked.
Yeah, if you're not a Christian, as long as you don't believe the invisible sky wizard poofed everything into existence, this is pretty much how we understand by scientific discovery how it happened. So now, if you take... So humans couldn't live before that. The planet was fine. The climate was fine. There was nothing wrong with the climate this whole time. The whole time the skies were on fire and carbon was in the atmosphere and everything was burning, the climate was fine. There was no climate.
Needed to be.
Right. There was no disaster, right? There's no climate disaster.
Right.
So when we find ourselves here today, it is after all the plankton and plant life and everything ate the carbon, sequestered underground, compressed it into these giant oil pockets out of the atmosphere so that now we can burn the oxygen that they left behind and not be poisoned by the carbon and the acid, and the environment isn't so hot that everything bursts into flames.
There's some of that's not totally, I think, accurate, but I'm not going to worry about correcting you because I don't know if I'd be able to correct you correctly. But carry on. We'll just stipulate that.
If humans went back to before plant life changed the environment, we would all die, right?
Yes, that much I grant. Yes, for sure.
Okay.
We would not live.
So
we don't live.
We understand we also understand through science experiments, through scientific reasoning, that the sequestering of the carbon took the energy out of the atmosphere and displaced oxygen, so that oxygen was able to replace oxygen, hydrogen, and other stuff. Of course, there's lots of other chemicals up there.
Okay, that's fine.
So,
yep.
Chemically, that's what happened. This is just chemistry, basic chemistry.
Right, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Plankton,
I'm with you there.
I'm trying to, I don't know if you can hear what I'm trying to do or hear what I'm trying to drill in. The carbon took with it the heat and the acid and the energy and concentrated it into the plants that turned into oil under the soil. And it took billions of years to do that. Now, what we're doing is that oil, the energy, the carbon that all that plant life sequestered is super dense energy. It is energy. It is the most energy rich. It's the most energy that billions of years of effort could put into the smallest chemical composition, right? Oil is amazing. It is solar energy stored over billions of years. Okay. So what we're doing now is deciding to leverage the energy that, it bugs me every fucking time because it's exploit, God damn it. We are leveraging the energy that has been sequestered over billions of years and
say exploit in that case.
Yeah. Okay. Exploit the energy, but you're going to disagree. We're going to exploit the energy that took billions of years to put in there and take out of the atmosphere and change the environment. It changed the environment to an environment that we could live in. So we've decided, man, let's take all those chemicals that caused the world to be a hellscape billions of years ago. We're going to reintroduce them into the atmosphere, but it's going to be fine. There's no catastrophe. It's all as it should be.
Okay.
Does
so the
that
first question is
the
scale.
Environment? Yeah, okay.
Can 8 billion people do that at a scale that would reinstitute that particular environment?
Absolutely.
As it was?
Absolutely.
You believe so? Okay.
Absolutely.
So
without question.
Here's the next question. Do you think 1 billion people could be the scale at which they could burn enough to make that particular atmospheric environment come back?
Right. You're not going to be able to distill this down to a amount of people per damage per
No, I'm just trying
carbon.
to figure out who's going to. I'm just trying to figure out who's going to survive. How many people will survive?
If we keep going the way we're going,
how low is the population going to go?
If we keep going the way we're going, that's why I kept asking you how many humans could live before all the carbon was taken out of the atmosphere.
So what you're
Zero.
saying then is that there would be a point at which the process would begin to carry on in spite of no additional input. It'll do the changeover without any additional burning.
Sort of. Hold on. I'm trying to manage popcorn chicken and keep Dad's cigarettes lit and have a conversation.
I know. God bless you, man. You are doing a hell of a juggling job. Not just a conversation, but an involved conversation, difficult conversation. Even.
There's already a runaway climate change with the peat moss and the permafrost and the things that have been frozen for hundreds of thousands of years since we have changed the environment enough by bringing enough of the chemicals out of the ground that caused the warming in the first place. We've brought enough of those out that has started to melt the things that have been frozen since that time, right? And so the things that are frozen are also plant life. Plant is carbon. A lot of people, for some reason, I don't think get that. Plants are carbon. When plants...
We are carbon.
We are carbon. So if we burned all the humans, that would also be bad because there's a lot of us. But when the plants start to thaw, this is the permafrost issues that you're going to start, or you should have been hearing about this whole time, that they start to not only burn, but more importantly, start to produce methane, which is another fluorocarbon. It's another oil product. It's another more disastrous, more active chemical that is released from the thawing and the rotting and the aerosoling of the carbons that were frozen and captured. We all get the story.
Bad.
Yeah, we all know the story.
Although
that you dig up something frozen.
Source.
Yeah, you dig up some frozen animal that might have had a virus in it, and then that we haven't been exposed to the virus for millions and millions of years, so it kills everybody. So it's an old virus that we reintroduced because we dug it up and thawed it out and then let it loose. So the carbon, it's the same with, kind of similar with carbon, only it's not really alive, I guess. We have gotten warm enough that it is causing its own runaway greenhouse effect that I don't know if we're going to be able to stop. And we might, that's where I was saying we could be, even if we stopped burning everything right now, it's going to get way worse. But we're also not going to stop burning everything right now.
So that definitely
and it's going to get way worse.
And I'm not suggesting that is as any way to discount it or downplay it.
Right. So if we recreate by our actions the toxic hellscape that humans can't survive in, is that or is that not a catastrophe?
That would be a catastrophe if we could do it.
The Earth will be fine. The Earth will be fine. In another billion years, it'll go back to whatever it is because nobody will care because nobody will be alive. So
right.
the term, it's not a climate catastrophe because people aren't being displaced. And really, are we causing it? If we're not causing it, is it really a catastrophe? That's all secondary propaganda bullshit. All of it. It misses the whole point.
I would say
the scientific basis is before creatures took the carbon out of the atmosphere, it was a carbon acidic hellscape. We are reversing that and thinking that it's not going to happen again. That's mystical thinking on a level that's godlike.
I would probably argue that that can't be done at scale, and you can think I'm a mysticist for that, if you must.
No.
But
you are clearly a mysticist. Let me pose this before you go on any further, and then I got to change.
The math needs to be done on that very, very carefully.
The math actually doesn't need to be done on that. We've already seen it. The Earth was like that. If you agree that before, right, and then you agree that you understand that we know how much oil there is. We know chemically. We can do the math chemically, how much carbon it will take to get to a certain temperature and a certain acidic level. That's what this whole climate change thing is based on, is measurements of the carbon in the atmosphere, right? So you don't have to believe any of that. You don't have to think any of that. If your question is, can humans, can we really change the environment because we're so small and so insignificant? I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
We have enough, or let me pose this to you. We have enough thermonuclear weapons to glass the planet. Yes?
Yeah. More than just glass it, I would say. But
right.
Yes.
So we did that in 50 years? We created weapons that can glass the whole fucking planet. So you don't think that 8 billion motherfuckers burning shit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, inventing new ways to burn new shit, man, that just, That's just not possible. I mean, we could change the entire face of the planet in about 24 hours if we launched nuclear missiles, but we couldn't do it over hundreds of years with billions of fucking people. That is a mystical belief beyond what I can even comprehend.
The reason I would say that you wouldn't be able to do it with the population of the planet is because at some point, the conditions for the sustaining of that population on this planet would no longer be, and the population would decrease. And at that point, as the population decreases, you would also have less damage occurring, theoretically or ideally. And even if it wasn't, if there was still that much damage going at it with less population, that just means that people would continue to die off until finally there was that less damage state occurring, at which point you'd find some kind of a balance point. So it's really just a question in my head of how many people will die. And
you're again,
generations.
See, this is where the box of capitalism, because what you're trying to explain in environmental terms is diminishing marginal damage.
If you want to terms
right.
like that, I'm just saying, how many people will the planet sustain? If it can't sustain 8 billion, that means that at some point,
it totally can.
However,
the planet can sustain 100 billion.
But they all have to
for
live
a couple years. For a couple years. We're not.
But that's not sustainable.
You're thinking again. I guess this is where that linear thinking versus exponential thinking comes in. You're thinking that we're going to get to a point where so many people die that climate change will stop and reverse itself because there's less people. No. We're already. I'm sure you've heard the term, or or had the explained where we're using 5 Earths worth of energy.
I would have to see the math on that.
Something like that. They computed how much energy was on the planet, how much resources was on the planet, which we can do. Science is super cool.
Yeah.
We can determine how many resources are on a planet 100 light years away. So it's not guesswork. We know the chemical composition of planets. We know what they're made out of generally, and we can compute that. And so right now we are using something like 5 Earths worth of energy, and we only have one Earth.
Again, I would need to see the math on that exact.
Right. Well, you can look at the math later.
Because I would say that while sure you can calculate the total number of resources on a planet and estimate and roughly guesstimate how much we're burning to keep a certain population alive, that's when you put it in terms of how many Earths you're using and it exceeds the number of Earths you have, right off the bat I'm going, well, it's a little bit junky. That's a little bit junk math or junk science.
No, I think you're not understanding how they're measuring it.
Okay.
How do I rephrase this? How do I?
Now, if you were to suggest that the United States is using up way more than its own fair share of the Earth's resources.
Yes, well, that's part of it. Yes, of course. Well, Zimbabwe isn't doing it.
Let's all of us stop using our AC right now and figure something else out so that we can.
That's never going to be the answer. We're never going to do that. So my whole problem, why I get upset about this, is that you already understand basic logic how we're destroying the planet, or we're making the planet unlivable and toxic to humanity and to every other animal that evolved after the carbon was removed. So we are. It's a goddamn supervillain movie, right? Where aliens come to the planet and they try and terraform the planet, but they came from a planet high in carbon and acid, and so they're trying to. It's the goddamn Pacific Rim kaiju dinosaur fucking plot. We are the kaiju. We are creating the planet that existed before we did, and we couldn't exist on the planet that was here then. I suppose in the end, you're probably generally right that at some point when the Earth hits 120 degrees on average, most people will die, and some will survive. Woohoo! But that's not, it doesn't stop there, because after most people die, does that mean that all the frozen plant life in the tundra has stopped thawing? Or is it going to keep going because we heated it up to the point where we can't stop it? And so you get, say, 1 billion people that survive up until that point. Well, there's 1 billion people, but it's not slowing down. The carbon is still heating up the atmosphere to the point where it's releasing more carbon that's been frozen for hundreds of thousands of years. And there's just enough carbon to kill everything left alive. So there's not necessarily a diminishing marginal catastrophe based on population growth or rate of draw of carbon.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. While I do not particularly accept the evidence for climate catastrophe, and I absolutely don't want to be caught up in the hysteria of climate alarmism, that's just me personally, and I do put my money where my mouth is, even as we speak. I will continue to put my money where my mouth is, in that this. At any point that society, or even just those closest in my orbit, ever decide that they would like to go completely, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll go ahead and use the word extremist. Extremist with regards to lifestyle choices and in doing our own small part, or if society at large wanted to do that. To do our own small part in, stopping the catastrophe. And that meant that I was going to never drive a car again. I would ride my bike everywhere, and no AC even in Florida, and figure out, some other way to. If there was something extreme like that, I am absolutely on board. It's not something I'll vote for, but if it got voted in, I would by God live by it, and I would feel better about myself for doing so.
Okay, I already know you're lying. I already know you're lying. I already know you're lying. So, first of all, Darth Paul, you don't have to go to those extremes.
Just tell me what I have to do. I don't want to be, even unknowingly causing the detriment.
Down the line, vote for people that are promoting green energy. Straight down the ticket.
I can't.
See, I already know you're lying. You know, if you accept all that and accept that burning the fossil fuel is the major problem and converting to green energy is one of the solutions to offset that, and you just flat fucking refuse to support politicians trying to push that forward, you've already
vote for it.
Yeah, see, you've already said you're not going to vote for it, and that's the only thing.
Vote for it.
The only difference you can make as an individual. That's it.
If I get outvoted, I'll go along with it.
There's not. No, that's not enough. You were asking me what you can do. You asked me what you could do to make it happen, to support the change. And the one thing you could do that would do the most is the one thing you won't do. So I already know you're lying.
No, I'll go along.
You're lying to yourself, or you're lying to me, or you just don't understand the problem. Or maybe I don't understand the problem. Maybe I don't. No.
I don't complain.
You want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, right? Part of the solution is not just going along with it.
Well, what I have to do is to be part of the solution, I have to do what I believe is the right thing as part of that solution, and I am, amazingly enough, doing that right now, even as we speak.
So if there's a politician, if there is someone in power with the power of law to change the actions of corporations that are doing the majority of the damage. So you as an individual can do nothing to combat what a corporation does. A corporation is just dumping chemicals and doing all the chaos that corporations do. And then you go, I'll recycle my plastics. It just doesn't make a difference. You cannot personally make a difference. The biggest difference you can make is if there's a politician that's going, drill, baby, drill. And there's a politician that's going, no, we should put in some more wind turbines and some more batteries. And you vote for the guy that wants to drill, you're part of the problem.
There's some lots of things up with that, but for starters,
because remember, they have the power of many. A politician has 1,000,000 times more influence and power than you do. They can change the course through lawmaking of the country. You cannot. There's no amount of recycling. There's no amount of bikes you can ride. There's no amount of little green tree hugging, twig eating that you can do that will be more powerful than a politician going after corporations to regulate them, to stop them from poisoning. Not blatant regulations, not carpet regulations that stop business. God forbid we should end capitalism. No. That just curtail, regulate toxic production. Just regulate the toxins they're allowed to dump. Just stop them from burning as much. And if they do expand, like with AI, what's coming, do not allow a corporation investing in AI to also invest in, say, a coal power plant. Force them through regulation to do cleaner energy like nuclear energy or wind turbines, or I'm sure Elon Musk would have a hard-on for the rest of eternity if he could make enough solar panels and batteries to power his AI, which I'm sure he's going to do.
Do you think that if there was a education effort, even a propaganda campaign, if you want, that educated people with regards to which companies were actually doing what you're talking about, that there would be enough of a backlash for people with regards to those people giving that company their business, that they wouldn't be able to help make the company change its behavior without regulation?
Okay, let me put this to you. Put it this way. There are motherfuckers shooting beer because they think it's gay. Now ask me that question again.
Actually, I think that supports the assertion.
There are motherfuckers shooting. It didn't stop Anheuser-Busch. They're a giant corporation. Kid Rock is back to drinking Bud Light. So it didn't do anything. But boy, they shot beer because they thought it was too gay. So you're asking, don't people vote with their dollars and shame giant corporations that do bad things?
Yes.
No, they fucking don't. They shame corporations for doing good things. Are you crazy? They light Nikes on fire because they think someone kneeling for the anthem is evil. I don't think...
You're saying...
No,
You're saying that what Bud Light did was a good thing?
Trying to support a gay, a trans YouTuber? Now remember, they never produced these cans. It was a single batch, like I think it was just a 6-pack that they sent to her, and that was it. They were never going to produce this. It was a promotional stunt for this one YouTuber.
Yep.
Go on.
It wasn't because Dylan Mulvaney was purported to be trans. It was because Dylan Mulvaney's demographic, the bulk of Dylan Mulvaney's YouTube and TikTok audience were still in their teens. Bud Light was effectively trying to market to Dylan Mulvaney's listener base,
Okay, right.
and they were all underage.
Gotcha.
That was the outrage.
No,
not because
it was
Dylan
not.
Mulvaney purported to be trans.
No, it was not.
And
that's
I'll
your
take it
own.
a step
That's
further real
going to
quick.
be you deluding yourself then, or I'm deluding myself. I saw homophobic motherfuckers shooting beer with machine guns and running them over with monster trucks with Trump flags and Confederate flags in the back of it, because not fucking one of them said because Bud was promoting to underage children. Not one mention of because his. So that wasn't it.
Weren't mentioning it.
That wasn't it. So that wasn't it. That's not what they latched onto. I'm sure that was also true, and if that's true, I would condemn it. But
not for nothing too. But Dylan Mulvaney is so damned insulting that Dylan Mulvaney is probably the reason why I'm as trans as a trans can be. I live as a man, but I would never, ever, ever call myself part of the LGBT.
Well, see, that's your QAnon. That's your. Did we lose it?
I can't really be associated with somebody like Dylan Mulvaney. They're just.
Did we lose it?
Ridiculous. Parody, a clown, frankly.
I wouldn't argue ever that
everything
Dylan
that I find
was
sacred,
a great guy.
My sacred cow.
Saying you're not going to
and made it
vote
a damn joke.
For someone that supports the Green Deal. I'm not exactly sure what your argument is there.
If I was a Bud drinker, I would have boycotted Bud Light too.
I would argue Trump.
I should say if I was a beer drinker, I would.
Has done a lot of really shitty things.
That was a shit show
as well, and
of the first order.
I would guess that you won't have any problem voting for him. So being shitty wasn't the issue.
There? Dude?
Yeah, I can't go on with this without you because I can't be upset or energized or emotional because otherwise I know nothing's going to happen and AI is going to do whatever AI decides to do. And we're going to like to do it because it's going to convince us we like to do it. So all of this is an argument just from where we are sitting to where I think we should go and where we're going without AI. AI changes all of that to be a moot point very quickly. And I don't think enough people really maybe it's better that they don't. It doesn't matter. But it's hard to be upset. My only frustration is that oh, did you or did you not? Did you? Oh, okay. Should we end it there? Question mark? M, long hold? still going. We're still going. Tell everybody to be continued. We'll get them on a cliffhanger. To be continued. We'll get them on a cliffhanger. Cool. That was a fun conversation. Peace. I'm not going to talk bad about him behind his back. No, I'm not going to talk bad.